What's up guys, it's Missy. I am doing another SimCity Buildit video. Today we're going to be talking about the side pass for this week. I'm going to give you guys a couple of tips on the contest of mares. And I am going to talk to you guys a little bit about why the walkthrough city we haven't done last week's mega. And then I'm going to go ahead and get the other video that I have to get done today. So the very first thing is go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. We've hit like 1,300 subs, so any subs that aren't any people that aren't subbed, go ahead and do that. Like I said, I put videos out like daily about SimCity, so if you want to be notified, you want to hit the little bell icon on the channel and make sure that you are subscribed. Okay, so first thing is let's talk about this week's pass, okay? So for those of you guys who don't know, this here is a 3-pointer epic building for the beach. For those of you guys who were wondering how many epic points it's worth, it is worth 3 points. Right here, it tells you guys that the way that you can earn the pink plumb bob points, they are earned, sometimes they're only, earned through upgrades or purchases. They don't always allow you to earn them through doing contest of mares tasks. However, they are allowing you to earn them through the contest this week. So, for those of you who are wondering where the season 15 pass is, that doesn't come out until next week. Every other pass, they skip a week and make you wait. For those of you guys who maybe don't have the side pass yet, go ahead and restart your game. Usually it pops up, shortly after. Next thing is let's talk about what is included in this pass. So the beginning of the pass, you have coins for 3,000. You also have 5 silver tokens. I am not going to collect these just yet because if I do, then I won't be able to collect the ones that are on top of my houses without burning up these ones first. So I usually hold off on collecting all tokens in the pass until the day of the pass ending. The next thing is the beach wedding. I did already have this. That's how I was able to tell you guys how many epic pointers it's worth, which is 3 epic pointers. The next one is 5 gold keys. I recommend saving this for when you do your keys task. 3 of each storage item. That's pretty good. I always like to see when you guys get storage. This also means that you guys will probably see storage on the global market this week. So be sure that you guys are on the global market and searching, as there will probably, like I said, be storage out there because crazy people sell it. They're insane. Okay, the Windsor Home Park, that park is a 10% pop boost. It's, okay, I guess. I'm not really very fond of it. The next one is random 500 regional simoleons. If you guys do not have regionals unlocked, they will be added to your game and you will be able to see them at the top of your screen, but you won't be able to actually use them until you unlock that regional map. Okay, next thing is platinum keys. You can collect that right away as there is no assignment for that. The 40 cash, you can collect that right away if you'd like, because there's no assignment for that either. The next thing is the castle, which I'm actually glad they brought that one back because I missed it the last time it was here. I thought that this was a pass, mayor's pass castle, but maybe it wasn't. It is for the landmark category and it is for a 50% pop boost. It's a halfway decent castle, especially with all of the walls that we have coming out and stuff. It's worth picking up if you guys can do it. Okay, so the walkthrough city. I have that on my old phone and that phone has issues with the headphone jack, and some of the videos that I do end up perfectly fine and other ones it's like half the audio cuts out. And I can't afford to record a video and have all of the audio cut out. So I am working on getting a new device put together, and I'm going to put that city onto that device, and then we're going to pick up where we left off. Now, last week I was going to play competitively in the Mega League, and then I realized that we hadn't unlocked the airport on the walkthrough city. So I went ahead and I purchased the airport, and then that took about a day and a half. It was double points week. We had that weird like war issue going on with people's tasks where they were getting like 12,000 point war tasks. So I figure it better just to say screw that week, not waste our resources, buy the airport, get that city set up for this week. And that's what I plan to do, is do the best that I can to show you guys what we're going to be doing going forward in Mega on that city. So for those of you guys who are following along, we are going to be playing Mega this week, hopefully, saying that everything goes well with the device. And I will do my best to keep you guys updated on the changes and stuff like that within that city. So anybody here who has been having issues with the contest of mayors, this is the part of the video where I'm going to be giving you guys a few contest of mayors tips. And that is a couple of people, a lot of people actually, what I've noticed is a lot of people are making the same mistakes. Okay, and the same few mistakes. Now, one of the mistakes that a lot of you guys are making is when it comes to factory production tasks. You guys get them in your list with a lower value, and you guys are prepping them before bed, which is right. However, you are automatically assuming that you pick that task up and actually do it the following morning. That's not always the case. Okay, just because something is convenient doesn't mean it's right. For example, I had a guy reach out to me, and he had a 1,200 point glass task in his list, and he said that he was going to prep it before bedtime, and it was like 10 hours away. I'm like, you don't know what you're prepping before bed, because that's 10 hours away. You know, things can change. Not to mention, just because you prep something doesn't mean you're going to do it. You have to think about the risk. If you do that task and you open up the possibility for it to return, then you have problems, right? So a very good example of this is one of my trainers or trainees. She had prepped feed, okay, because usually you guys prep feed right before the contest begins, and it's ready for pickup obviously when the contest starts. She had prepped feed, and it was for like 31 feeds, so it was about 1,300 points. She got a task for minerals for like 1,140 points. The correct choice is to clear the feed out and do the minerals. And a lot of people make the mistake of doing the feed because it's slightly higher and it's already done. That is a huge mistake. And the reason for that is because now what you've done is, yes, you've got a couple points extra. However, you're still not opening up a 2K placement. It's still a very low task. Now, all you've done by doing that is you've taken what could be, you're comparing it to the minerals task, right? So the minerals can be done in 30 minutes with 1 round or an hour with 2 rounds. Feed, as we all know, takes 6 hours, right? So just 1 round of feed is 6 hours. By her completing that, she opens up the possibility of it coming back. If it does come back, it could come back to where she needs to do 2 rounds, which would be 12 hours. Now, let's just say hypothetically that she does the feed, she gets the extra 200 points, and it comes back for, let's say, 1,300 again. She's faced with the same exact choice that she made earlier, except for now she chooses something else based on what she has prepared. That is what I mean by picking tasks based off convenience. Do not do that. You need to pick tasks based off what's right and what's wrong. But let's just say that she did the feed and it came back with a higher value. Now she's basically forced to do it, right? Because it's taking one of her 2K placements, and it doesn't make sense to cancel it and have it come back for a 3rd time. Now, when you look at it like that, let's say that she gets it worth, 1,600 to 2,300 points. Taking that into consideration, now she has 12 hours downtime that she has to deal with. So now a lot of people would say, well, I'll prep half of it now, right? And or the second half of it now, and then the second half of it before bed, and then proceed on doing my other tasks. Now, problems with this is that now you have tasks in your list that are worth high value that are blocking other high value tasks. You don't want to put yourself in that position intentionally. Those situations can happen, but you want to try to prevent those things from happening, and it would have been prevented had she let it sit. So usually you do not rotate in glass, feed, or electrical components unless it's to the point where you have really little rotatable options, and maybe you're near the end of the contest, or maybe you're in between wars and it's your downtime. That's a really good time. You don't want to waste your active war time rotating in lower or high time factory assignments. So what a lot of people are doing is they're looking at what's there and what's convenient versus what's not there, what could happen, and what risk is involved. So you need to play it out as if it returns, and if it comes back with a higher value, how does that benefit you or how does that not benefit you? That just causes more problems than good. Same thing with the sugar. Okay, sugar should never be touched unless it absolutely has to be, and it's worth over 2,000 points, right around 2,000 points. Reason for that is because sugar has a really high chance of coming back. Same with chemicals. Okay, if chemicals is not sitting at least 1,700 points, then like 1,600 to 1,700 points, and you have other rotatable options, then you wouldn't do them. If it's at 1,600 points or higher, then you need to rotate them in. If they're lower than that, I don't care if they're done. I don't care. People, that's what they don't understand. They think that the problem is the time it takes to do the task right now. And what you need to take into consideration is if it returns. So they're like, but it's done now, but I'm sleeping. It's like, dude, you're not understanding. So let's say that you were going to bed and you already had feed in your list for 1,200 points, but you had a bunch of other rotatable options, right? You would prep something other than feed, like glass, right? Because it has it's not there in your list. It has a possibility of popping up with a higher value. So let's say that you have little rotatable options. You have a low textiles, a low chemicals, and a low feed task, and you have like nothing else that's rotatable. You're running out of options. Then you would prep feed and do the feed. Okay? You would prep text if it was daytime and do the textiles instead of feed, because that one is a fraction of the time. It's half the time as the feed. And it, again, even if it comes back, it's half the time. So you want to avoid the long factory productions at all costs, if possible. It has nothing to do with finding the time to get them done. It has to do with having to do them repeatedly, right? And which ones have a higher task of coming back in more frequently. So that is why a lot of you guys are having issues, is because you're going based off what's convenient, and you need to go based off what's the right choice. Another thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is understanding that picking a task right now picking one task right now does not have the same result as picking that same task later. This is why it's super important that you pick the right task at the right time. What this means is this. Let's say, hypothetically, that you're playing and this is your list, okay? And hypothetically, actually, no, let's not do it. Let's just do what we would do. So what is the correct choice here? The correct choice here is the launch war for 2,000 points. It's the highest. It opens up the best opportunity, and it's a war task, so we're on a limited time. We only have so much time where we can launch war assignments. So being how I'm a high level player, I could do that upgrade down there. But again, the upgrade's not going anywhere. Whereas the wartimer is ticking. We only have so much wartime. War is the correct choice. Okay? So let's just say hypothetically that I picked something else that was the wrong choice. And I picked, let's say, bricks. Okay? the results of the bricks would change if I had waited and done something else first. People have this misconception that, like, let's say that you're picking between a task and another task. And let's say that it was, okay, for example, this is exactly what happened with this person. They had a minerals for 1100, and they had a war booster for 1000, and then they had something, it was a production task for like, what was it? Yeah, it was a production task for like 1800 points, okay? So, point being, the 1800 production is the one that you would clear first because it's worth the highest value. Same concept here. The rare war attack is the one worth a higher value. That's the correct choice. Now, let's say that you were going based off convenience. Okay, let's say you were doing a deliveries and you had a Tokyo delivery for 1000 and the flight is there, but it's leaving right away. Then you have another flight for London for 2000 and the flight isn't there, right? But you want to go ahead and do this Tokyo flight before it leaves because it's convenient. That is the wrong choice, because even though you're saving a couple bucks in cash, now when you choose that assignment, you're choosing that assignment with what's in your list right now. So the way that the game spits out the next assignment, it's going based off everything in your list right this minute when you choose that task. Whereas if you would have done the other delivery first, you would have knocked out that 2K task, then done the Tokyo, and the results would have been different. People don't understand that. They think that the results are the same based off the task that they choose. Like, oh, if I would have done Tokyo first, I would have got this. That's not the case. So let's say that you come to me with the same scenario and you have a 2K London flight and a 1K Tokyo that's there and ready. And you want to do the 1K Tokyo and I say, no, you need to wait. Let's just say you do the 1K Tokyo and it kicks you a 1K booster, okay? But let's say we could rewind time and you did the London like I instructed you to do. And then you did the Tokyo second, and it kicked you a 3K VU. You see what I'm saying? It kicks you higher stuff because you've cleared the other higher tasks. Most people, they see it opposite, okay? They see it like, oh, look, it gave me this, I should have done this because it would have gave me this. It only gave you that because of what was in your list at the time. And that is extremely important that you pay very close attention to what is in your list at the time that you select your assignments. You also need to pay very close attention as to what's not in your list. What are the possibilities here? People focus way too much on the one thing, you know? They focus way too much on what they're doing as opposed to what could happen, and they don't try to foresee their next move. You know, they don't try to say, okay, you know, what is the likelihood of this occurring versus this occurring, and then going based off of your odds. They just go based off of, okay, this is what's in front of me, I'm going to go with this. You got to have some level of understanding on how to predict what's going to be occurring based on what's there and what's not there. You know, you always want to look at what's in your list, but you always want to look at what's not in your list. If you have a list like mine where there's little upgrades and you're a low-level player, then you want to be very careful on which ones you rotate, because you don't want to end up in a situation where you get a shit ton of high upgrades and burn through all of your rotatable options very early on. The next thing is a lot of people are not paying attention to opportunity versus possibility. So there was another incident, and I want to show you guys this. So I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to open up the screenshots because this is super important. Hang on just a second. Okay, so I am hoping that you guys can see this relatively easily. Some of the no, the letters on the right-hand side are wrong. The not rotatable, ignore the stuff on the right-hand side. She's in training and learning. So basically the way that these are supposed to be labeled is your main tasks get labeled with an M. Those are tasks that are usually worth 2,000 points or higher, and are in your top, main 3 tasks that you would do, like your obvious choice stuff. Like let's say you had a 2,500 beach or 3,000 ward deliveries. That would be considered a main task. That monster is considered a main task because of its value. The only problem is that she can't do it because it's not there for another day. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and do her task assessment / task breakdown. The 2K Tokyo building upgrade, that is taking up one of her 2K placements. So we're going to go ahead and proceed down the list. She's got a war booster that just came in for 1,000 points. That is a good rotatable option for higher value tasks. She has another upgrade in her list worth 2,000 points or higher. So she's got 2 out of her 4K tasks taken up, or 2 out of her 4 2K tasks taken up is what I should say. She has a 800 regular residential upgrade. That's the lowest regular residential upgrade you can get. It doesn't make sense to rotate it in, even though she does have experience to do so, because of its value and because of the fact that it's there, worth a low value. It just doesn't make sense to eliminate an upgrade out of her list to open up the possibility of it coming back higher and using up experience that doesn't need to be used right now. Okay, she has a city expansion, but she doesn't have enough dozer to complete it. However, even if she did have enough dozer to complete it, sure, she could do it, but ultimately it only opens up so much opportunity as it will come right back. So there's no sense in canceling it. And if you do it, great, then you've got a 2K task done, but don't expect opportunity to arise from it because it's going to come right back. The next thing is she has coins, which are usually a last rotatable option in hopes of opening something up. She has feed, which is not prepped because she had to do minerals, which even if it was prepped, it's at 1,200. So we have other rotatable options. We're not going to pick that. She has a 1,200 Old Town building, which that one can come in worth 3,600 points. So it's excellent where it's at. It's at a low value. She has an epic for 1,200 points. However, this is her first week in Mega. She hasn't had an opportunity to open up much of her mountain yet. And she could buy 3-pointers and do the epic. However, the likelihood of getting other epic tasks after that is very high. And given the fact that she has very little room to put 3-pointer, well, she has no room to put 3-pointers down. She would have to unlock a section of her mountain if she wanted to do a mountain epic. She would burn through some keys, and it just doesn't make sense to rotate that and open up that doorway just yet, but it is definitely an option going forward. She has the 840 on the melons, which opens up good opportunity, but it's a low value. So what is the correct choice here? Now, most people would say to do the war booster, right? Because it opens up good opportunity and it's the highest rotatable task there that makes the most sense. However, that is not the case, because if you look at the tasks remaining, she's only 57 tasks or 52 tasks in or remaining plus tickets. So we need to look at possibility. So you have a couple of things that you look at. You have possibility, risk, reward, and opportunity, right? Opportunity is what you gain from doing a task. Like, okay, by doing this, I've opened up the possibilities of this, and this occurring. Possibility is what is possible in your list with what you have right now. So based off what you choose, what is possible to come in? What is not here? And if we look very closely, she has 1, 2, 3, 4 2K tasks sitting in her list, one of which is a land expansion that is always going to be in her list because she's nowhere near expanding all of her land yet. The next one is a monster, which she can't do anything about because it's 1 day away. The other 2 are upgrades. So right now, it doesn't really matter what she rotates in. She has very low probability of getting a higher task. This would stand to reason that you would want to do a cancellation. Now, it's not a double cancel because it's not 4 2K upgrades or higher. It's not all upgrades. So there's no sense in canceling 2 upgrades, especially if they're not even worth 3,000 points. So we would do a single cancellation. Now, which one do we choose? Do we choose Tokyo or do we choose Paris, and why? Well, you choose Paris. Why? Because both upgrades can be worth the same amount of points, right? But you choose Paris because it's been sitting for longer. So the correct answer here is to cancel Paris, to open up that 2K placement before rotating in the booster or even the melons or anything else for that matter. Right now, this is not a good start because there's so little opportunity. She can do the dozer when she gets enough pieces, but ultimately that task will return. When the monster gets there, she needs to get that done immediately because that is blocking a lot for her. When it returns, we want it to return with a lower value, which ultimately would open up another 2K task, and then we've now canceled one of the upgrades. That would at least bring 2 of those to the surface, and we would have 2 slots open. So it's going to be very tricky for her because of the fact that that land is not fully unlocked. And this is why I tell people to try to get as much land unlocked as possible in the lower leagues. You know, even if you're not upgrading for the contest, get those land unlocks done. Because what ends up happening is you end up in this situation where it takes up one of your 2K placements and it ends up blocking a lot of good things from happening. Okay? So that is part of that lesson. The next thing here is she chose keys. With these circumstances, she chose keys. Now, under these circumstances, you would not choose keys. Keys is only worth 1,200 points right now. So when you have keys worth a low value and you have other rotatable options, you have this many tasks remaining. What you've ended up doing now is they're going to return. Okay. Now, they do have a chance of coming in worth 2,000 points or even 2,400 points. However, at some point, they're going to come back around worth the 1,200 points. You're going to be faced with the exact same dilemma again. Now, that could be right away, or it could be after it kicks you 1 or 2 worth 2,000 points. We don't know. The point is, in terms of opportunity, it offers very little. Now, if it was worth 1,600 points or higher, we would be looking at the opportunity for value as well. So there's 2 ways that you look at opportunity: type of task and value, right? If you're opening up a 2K placement, that opens up better opportunity for other tasks. You have to look at what each task is about and look at its value. You have to assess everything, okay? So make sure that you guys are reviewing the Contest to Mayor's Guide. I'm going to be updating it later today. And if you guys have any questions, you guys can always hit me up on Facebook or even the comments section. I am going to be doing some more in-depth videos on the contest, on the walkthrough city especially. So for those of you who are still having trouble, it really comes down to looking at everything in your list and trying to break everything down and do everything that looking at everything that could happen, and realizing that you have a very limited number of tasks, okay? So when you take less points, it better be for good reason. If you have something there with a higher value, but you take something worth a lower value, it's because it opens up better possibilities in the future than just taking those extra points, right? So you have to know when to sacrifice points and when not to sacrifice points. All right, you guys, I'm going to get this uploaded. For those of you who haven't subscribed, make sure you do that before you go on to the next video, and I will see you guys later on today.